Hello, welcome to the tutorial on how to create To-Do app with Radzen Blazor and SQL Server. I remain Benjamin Fadina. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the database. Now, after connecting to Object Explorer, I'll right-click on the server name. Then I'm going to select New Query from the context menu. Now, because of time, I'm going to paste the query to create the database and the database objects. So, step 1, I create the database whose name is To-Do app. Then I switch context to the new database. Then step 2, I create a table called priority level. That's 2 columns, priority ID, which is the primary key, and priority name column, which does not allow nulls. After that, I insert 3 values into priority level table. The values I insert are low, medium, and high. After that, I'll create the status table. Now, status table has 2 columns, status ID, status name, and then I insert 3 statuses into the status table. They are statuses of pending, in progress, and completed. Then step 4, I create the to-do list table itself. Now, the to-do list table has the following columns: task ID, which is primary key and its identity column. I have task description, priority ID, status ID, due date, the date created at column, whose default is current date and time, updated at column, whose default is current date and time, notes, and then there is foreign key between to-do list table and priority level and status tables. Then after that, I insert some values into to-do list table. Now, before I go ahead, I want to do some changes. I want to call this To-Do app DB. Then this one too, To-Do app DB. Then I change this to priority levels. So I'm going to say insert into priority levels. So this becomes priority levels as well. I'm going to call this table statuses. Then this becomes start into statuses, create to-do lists. So change this to to-do lists. So now let's check the query. Okay, fine. So let's click execute now. So the database is created now. So now that the database is created, it's time for me to create the app itself. Radzen Blazor is already Studio is already open, so I'm going to click on New Application. So let me choose .NET 8 Blazor Web Application. I click Next. So I'm going to call this app ToDoList. The interactivity for my project, I'm going to set it to auto. Then the theme, let me choose Fluent Dark. As for the folder, I'm going to put it on my C drive, C ToDoList, C/ToDoList. I'm enabling progressive WebAssembly apps. So then I click on Finish. So now I'm going to now click on Data. Data source MS SQL. I click on Next. I go back to SQL Server to get my server name from Object Explorer, and I click on Object Explorer. I click on Properties. I do Control A, Control C to get the server name. Username is SA. Password, I'm going to enter there now. I'm going to choose the database. Of course, the database is, I can even type to do app DB. Use entity framework naming convention, no. Pluralize or singularize generated object names, yes. And I click on Next. I'm going to turn up optimistic concurrency. I'm going to change the data connection name to ConData. Then I click on Next. Yes, I want to scaffold the pages for CRUD. So I'm choosing CRUD. I click on Next. I'm going to select all the 3 tables that are now listed as entities here. I want to export to Excel. I want to enable paging, double click, and all that. Date format, I'll leave it as that. For field variant, I'll leave it as none. I'll leave it as none. Okay, yeah, let me leave it as none. Then I click on Finish. So now, after the pages have been created, let's go to the client project. First thing I want to do is I want to customize the to-do list, the add to-do list component and the edit to-do list component. So let me start with the add to-do list component. I've double clicked on it. So I'm going to go to the source for it. So I'm going to remove these two columns. Or should I remove it? No. Yeah, I'm going to remove it. So I'm removing it. I go to the code behind file for the add to-do list. So I go to the form submit event. So I'm going to say there's an object that's been created called to-do list. It represents the new to-do list that I'm trying to add to my database. So I'm going to say to-do list dot created at is equal to datetime.now. That allows me to insert the current date and time. Then I can say to-do list dot updated at is equal to datetime.now semicolon file. I go to file, say save all. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to edit to-do list. So I'm going to go to the source. I'm going to the source for edit to-do list. I'm going to look for the Radzen row for created at and updated at. The Radzen row for created at and updated at. This is the Radzen row for created at. It starts at line 61. So there is a date picker there. I'm going to set the date picker for created at. I'm going to make it a read-only control by adding the read-only property to it. and setting the read-only property to true. What I've just done for created that column, I'm also going to do for updated that column. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to test run my project for the first time. So I click on run. So here is the app I've started for the first time. So I click on to-do lists. So these are the let me do Control plus. So this is what we have. Let me do Control minus. Okay, so this is what you have. So let me click on add. So go to Internet Cafe. And complete English assignment. Priority level high. The status pending. The due date, let's say November 9. Notes, please do this ASAP. Let's click save. So we click save. Let's sort this column. Let's search for cafe. So me searching for cafe has just brought up the record I just entered, whose tax ID is 21. So that's the end of this lesson. So in the next lesson, we will implement security, and I'm going to show you how to allow your users to opt in into two-factor authentication in the next lesson. Thank you for watching.